We've picked out 6 big stock issues for 2017. We'll put some proposals to you. Let's find out if they're true or false. Fairfax, the old employer, they're going to spin out Domain in an IPO. True or false?
False, but I do think at some stage, maybe by the end of 17, Domain will be standalone, but maybe they sell the rest of their businesses and just keep Domain.
True.
And a reason?
Look, I just think the logic is compelling. We're seeing a lot of change in the media market. We saw APN News and Media spin off NZM. We're seeing mergers and acquisitions. I think they're going to need to do something to crystallise some of the value in that business, and that is the most obvious move.
Well, given Domain's worth about 80 cents and Fairfax is worth about 80 cents, it's like selling the crown jewels. No.
False.
False, yes.
False.
I'll say false. I mean, I think they should have done it years ago, but I think it could take longer, or they've missed the time in the market to do it.
The China-facing stocks, they've had a rough time in 2016. In 2017, they're going to get a second wind and kick along again. True or false?
False, but not because I think it's an individual stock issue. I think some of them are really found they're going tough in the different regulatory environment. Some may perform, but as a group, I think they'll head lower over 17.
False, but there may be new players come into that market, I think, that are successful. But I still think that the consumer story in China is an interesting one if you can get a business that has some good exposure to it.
No, false. Only for a select they will do well, like A2, but others that haven't worked out the regulatory changes yet will really struggle.
True, but it won't be for all of them, with obvious candidates there.
A2, yes. The other two, I think, will struggle.
Okay, banks, insurers, the big finance companies, going to have a great performance. True or false?
True. We think the outlook for the banks looks pretty good. Bad and doubtful debts slowing down, interest rates going up. The banks look pretty cheap here.
I think they'll do well. I don't know if they'll do better than the index. I think other parts of the index, we still see fairly fair valuations in that area of the market. So we think other parts could do a bit better.
Insurers, false. Banks, true.
True. The insurers, the premium cycle has hit bottom, started to bounce. That should continue in 17 long cycles. Banks, they haven't got capital issues to deal with. I think they go higher from here.
For me, I think on the balance of probability, they are priced to perform quite well, but I would still give them a miss from a risk perspective.
Okay, so false.
False.
It was all about cost discipline from the miners. That was the last story we heard. In 2017, they're going to start kicking up their dividends again. True or false?
False. I think at some stage during the course of 17, commodity prices peak and fall. Maybe it's even sooner than that, right at the start of the year. I think they'll keep their powder dry, which will be the smart thing to do.
True, I think there'll be a theme for the total market in resources, free cash flow to deploy, and we think that will be in the form of dividends in most part.
Big true. Of course they're going to.
True. Yeah. From the levels that have been cut to, I think that there's going to be more cash flow next year.
True. I think that there's big dividend rises coming through next year.
In 2017, the Australian property market finally corrects, down 5% or more. True or false?
Look, I would say false to that, because it has gone on so long that what's one more year in the grand scheme of things? It could continue going on, and the Australian psyche is so strong about house prices never going down, and I think we'll get more rate cuts. So the trigger there of people not being able to pay their mortgages, I'm not sure that it is going to be pulled next year, but it would not surprise me at all, and I don't want any exposure to it in my portfolio because I think the consequences could be very large.
I don't think it can perform. I think the days of Aussie property being the big asset class are over. Do I think they fall more than 5%? No, so I'm going to go with false.
False, because rates aren't going to be going up enough by then and unemployment is still low. So maybe 2018, ask me again.
I'll say false. I think we're in for a year of consolidation in the residential property market given the rates outlook. We don't think we'll see a move next year.
False, we can't see it. Interest rates staying low, the consumer sentiment remains pretty strong, so false.
Okay, NBN, biggest infrastructure project in Australia. Telcos, what's the best performer? Telstra, true or false?
True. We think in the current landscape, regulatory environment the way it is, Telstra's in the best position, being paid for the next few years still, so true.
False. If you had to buy one, it'd probably be TPG of that group.
False. I think what we saw from TPG at the AGM was that they're already finding ways to invest into faster growing areas. They're a more nimble, better managed beast, and I think they'll be able to have superior performance than Telstra.
True of the mix that is on the ASX today. I think once the NBN gets up and running, there will be businesses that come along again that rebuild the likes of TPG, but I think that those businesses that have done it in the past are going to be less profitable in future than they are today.
False. I think some of the smaller players, Vocus, TPG, have had problems. one of those is going to bounce back and outperform. I think Telstra could be a good investment, but I think one of those other stocks will bounce off the bottom. They're cheaper now and they'll perform. But be in the sector.